Welcome to Besties, Books, and Brews,
where we're not afraid to indulge in some steaming stories.
So whether you are naughty or nice or somewhere in between,
grab a glass of your favorite brew and settle in with your favorite besties.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Besties, Books, and Brews. How's everyone doing tonight?
Hey.
Yep, that's the feeling for tonight. Absolutely. So tonight we are going to be reviewing The Coven by
Harper L Woods.
Thank you very much, Alyssa. And we're gonna get straight into the drinks. What is everyone drinking tonight? I, for once, finally got my Vizzy.
Woohoo!
Super excited to taste it.
Sarah lent me.
Fun.
Yes,
we're twinning.
Sarah lent me a Vizzy on Sunday, so I'm saving it for today.
Mine's a different flavor, but
I have a whole box, so I will be trying all of them tonight.
I need to get on board the Vizzy train.
Our H2O girl, Lori.
It's okay. You're keeping us hydrated.
That's right.
Yeah.
Reminding us to drink some water.
I somehow managed to spill it on myself. I haven't even started drinking yet.
Oh, no. Look, I still have water in my Hufflepuff cup.
Oh, that is so cute.
Alyssa made that.
Uh-huh.
I love that. And you are so a Hufflepuff.
Yeah, I know, right? She made me it.
I love that. I may or may not want a Slytherin one.
Actually, really, really good.
This tastes kind of strong. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting like a watered down, like what's the other thing that I was drinking? White Claw. That shit tastes like water with flavor. This does not. Whew. All right, I'm ready to go.
I'm going to let Alyssa get into our summary review part of the podcast. So take it away, Alyssa.
I am going to do my best to summarize this book, but I can't make any promises here because I'm not going to lie, I'm still even confused after reading it all the way through. So this book, The Coven, centers around two main characters, pretty much. We have the female, which is Willow. I can't even remember her last name. And then we have the man, who is Alaric or Gray or Thorn. He's got three names. I'm not real sure which. I'm not sure which one he goes by. So anyway, I'm just going to call him Alaric. You know why? Because it reminds me of Vampire Diaries.
Yes,
I was thinking the same thing.
He is the headmaster of Hollows Grove University, which is in Crystal Hollow. And there is like some massacre that is alluded to from the beginning, like the prologue that happened 50 years prior. Still not 100% sure on that, but kind of what happened. Anyway, so Willow is, I want to say conscripted back from Fourth Wing. That word is still in my brain. She's like forced into going to this university after her mother passes away. And they basically come to get her and don't give her a choice about going. Now, what was confusing is she was raised for this like duty, again, that you're not ever totally sure what it is, but it made it seem like she knew she had to go there. And then yet when they came to get her, she was fighting them on it. So that's kind of where the confusion started for me. And basically, once she gets to the university, there isn't a whole lot of schooling going on. It's mainly, I can't even use the word angst with her and Alaric. It's just like a weird back and forth of him telling her he wants to fuck her. It's going to happen. She's like, no, it's not going to happen. And then mixed in between that is her using plants and trees and things like that to fight him and other people because she is a green witch, which means she has an affinity for earth. Mix in with that, you have these two bone people. They are called the Covenant, which is Susanna and George. Also, how weird were those names for like the leading whatever of the. They were two people that were literally just made out of bones. They had no skin. Basically. They were called the Covenant, and anytime they were referenced, so like if Susanna was by herself, they would still call them by the Covenant, even though they were by themselves. Anyway, bottom line is the book was about witches and vampires, but the vampires are called vessels. It was super confusing all the way through. And I don't think it started getting great until probably the last 40 pages. So with that, lovely summary. Let's go around and what are we rating this?
To be fair, I did not finish this book. So
Okay, Nikki DNF'd it.
sure the fuck did. I got
What
to
page
like
did you get to?
I read it on my Kindle, so I got to like chapter 13, whatever that is.
How many chapters are in this book?
Like 20
Oh my god, there's like 30 something chapters.
I didn't even make it halfway. Not even gonna lie.
That's okay. We're not gonna like every book, and like we said in the last episode, our reviews, our thoughts on a book is not always going to be what everybody else is gonna think. There are definitely gonna be books that we don't like that everybody else does. I know this book had really good reviews on Goodreads, and I personally don't understand why.
So with that said, go on, tell us your
Okay, so my star review was a 2 for like the entire book. With the last 40 pages, when we started getting explanations of stuff and it started picking up, I raised it to a 2.5. But like 90% of the book was a 2, and then the last 40% is what made it a little bit better. For Spice, a 0.5.
Oh, do you want me to rate it even though I didn't read it? Because my rating is a 1 and a 0. My whole thing was, it was just, for me, it was a hard read. It was very confusing. There was things in there, like we spoke about Susanna, she doesn't have eyes, but yet there was a part where something about she was looking, what are you looking at?
Yes, hold on.
No eyeballs.
I tabbed it because I was so confused.
To begin with, I thought Willow was a boy. From when I first started, I thought she was a boy, and with her little brother. And then when we get to, I think it was chapter 2 or whatever, they're talking about a girl witch, and I'm like, who's the girl witch? I can't wait to see who that is. And then the next fucking chapter, it's like, Willow, who the fuck is Willow? And why is she with the little boy? That's not her brother. What? She's a girl? When did that happen? I was utterly confused throughout this. This book is how my brain works. It's just all kinds of chaos and just everything just thrown all over the place. I couldn't. I couldn't.
I agree. It was very chaotic and disjointed with the way that, and listen, I understand with fantasy, you kind of have to have the world building and not everything will be revealed in the beginning, but I still think the way that it was laid out from the start didn't grab your attention, and it was just very confusing with the way the story went on.
And it's like you said, it's like she was raised for this, so she knew it was going to happen. She knew she was going to have to go anyway, but then it's like she's fighting it, and it was too much for me. And Mr. Alka-Seltzer with the whole, yeah, you're going to be in my bed. Like, motherfucker, what? Like, I didn't even think there was going to be sex in this book, the way they were talking to each other. It was like, listen, y'all are annoying. Yeah, 1 and 0. That's my rating.
All right. Sarah, Lori?
Yeah, so I gave it a 2 as well. Although I like your explanation, because it's true, I didn't start getting into it until the last bit. So if we're adding that last like few pages, then that's like the 0.5 on its own. But yeah, I gave it a 2. And as for Spice, I gave it a 0, which is a step up from what I read from when we read Accidental Attachment. But yeah, I was not feeling it.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Sarah?
So mine was a 2 also. For overall, it was a really cool concept, and it just wasn't executed well. So it was a 2 for me. And then Spice, I gave it a 1 because there was some spice in it. But like Nikki was saying, I mean, I think it's in one of the first chapters. He's like, oh, something with my cock is buried inside you. And I'm like, oh, okay, yes. and then he was so unlikable, and it was so gross, and the spice just wasn't there. So
Yeah.
it didn't match up at all.
And
So.
on top of that, while we're on the subject of spice, this book had like a laundry list of trigger/content warnings.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I'm like,
I didn't say that before.
when
Yeah.
I see that, I'm like, ooh,
it's gonna be good.
This book is gonna have top tier spice. And then I'm reading it, and I even texted Sarah, but when I first started, I'm like, oh, this has trigger/content warnings. I'm like, this could be your first foray into dark romance. I'm like, this is a good start for you. And then I'm reading through it, I'm like, okay, this doesn't seem very dark to me. I was like, maybe this is just me and I'm kind of like desensitized to it because of the kind of books I read. So I texted Sarah, I'm like, did you think this was dark? And you didn't think it was really dark either, right?
And I said, this was so tame to me, and I'm confused.
Yeah, definitely. So like I can kind of understand the dub con, non-con with the way that the sex finally happens, but she definitely was consensual to it. So
and with the reaping day, like the description of what usually happens. Yeah.
Although they do give them the choice of wearing the lace or not, so really they can be consensual to it. And I mean, I don't know if the vessels adhere to the lace or the silk dress, but if they do, then it is consensual. Like they have to agree to it, right?
Right. That's why it was kind of like,
I mean, do they though? Because I mean, it seems like the moment that they bite you, then they essentially like could, you know,
make it
not
pleasurable.
manipulate you, make it pleasurable to the point where it's like, yes, okay, here, take me. Why not?
Yeah.
Right.
I have no clue what the fuck y'all are talking about. I'm still bored.
We'll explain it more to you, Nikki. But while we're on the subject of spice, I'll give you guys where's the spice in this book. So it's a total of, this is a short book. It's only 291 pages. The actual sex doesn't start until page 232. Yes, Nikki, we have to wait that long. But there is a like foreplay cunnilingus scene on 182. I gotta use like the fancy term for it. Yeah, on 182 you get a little bit of foreplay, but yeah, the sex doesn't happen until
Nikki with her shirt.
Okay, so from this point forward, there will be spoilers. You have your warning. Spoilers will happen from this point forward. Don't hate us if you keep listening and you hear spoilers.
And then, Alyssa, do you want to start off with the triggers, I guess? The trigger warnings or whatever?
What triggers?
I mean, agreed. I mean, there was the end was kind of graphic, I will say.
Yeah, I guess.
What happened in the end? What happened?
Okay, so what happened in the end here for everybody? I texted our group and I was like, I'm going to put this theory out there that Alaric Gray Thorne, whatever his name is Lucifer. Him. He was fucking Lucifer. I was right.
Yep, you called it.
I was just like, interesting, sitting there like.
Sarah had already finished it. So in the end, it picks up where, so her whole duty this entire time is she is actually a descendant of Hecate. And so she's got two witch lines. She has the green and black. And her whole duty was to find her ancestors' bones and recover them. And then I think she was supposed to wear them as part of the duty. I'm still not totally sure, but I know part of the duty was that she had to, I don't know if anybody knows what the heck her duty was, but as far as I know, it was that she was supposed to collect these bones. She trained for it her entire life. Basically, her dad was a douche nozzle and he was doing like crazy things to train her up. He told her she had to be a virgin to go to this school in order to be able to seduce Alaric, and he would like her better that way. So that way when she lost her virginity, it ended up playing into that as well. But anyway, with the bones, Alaric ended up betraying her, and he had the bones the whole time. He did some sort of ritual / spell thing where he gave the bones to her. They went around her neck like a necklace, and then she could not take them off. From there, he took her to the tribunal room with the remaining, was it 10 students? I think it was 10. And
I don't remember.
he killed all of them. He put them all in a circle, slit their throats, and basically took different organs from each of them. It was
He had already killed 2 of them also, by the way.
Yeah, and then she was 13. So yeah, the remaining 10, he killed the rest of them. Along with Susanna and George. They finally went into bone dust.
Oh, thank God.
There was some sort of like mirror in the ground. All of the organs went on top of the mirror. He also, weird ass part, put a knife into her stomach, put the knife up, put his hand into her stomach, took out her rib, and used it to contribute to Charlotte. Which the rib thing was like a nod to Adam and Eve, right?
Something
That's
like
what
that.
I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
That sounds like it.
That's what I was thinking too when I read it. I'm like, okay, this is, but also since he's Lucifer, I'm like, okay, that with like, I think that tied in, that part tied in pretty well at least. So he took her rib and then ended up healing her. This whole ritual summoned, was it Charlotte? That it summoned Charlotte Hecate?
Mm-hmm.
And then what the heck happened from there?
Then all of them came up.
Yeah.
In the underworld.
It opened like the pits of hell. The demon lords, I can't remember what the name were. Archdemons.
Yeah.
All of them came up and they brought Lucifer, the morning star's body, with them, and she was like, oh, why is his soul, or like, why is he like that? And then Charlotte was like, because his soul is already here, aka in Alaric. So he was Lucifer. Oh, and also they were apparently married somehow. I don't know how.
So what I think it is that Charlotte made the deal with them way before when she got her magic, and essentially was like, I will give you my descendant or whatever, like to do as you will for this power. And he was pretty much like, all right, I'm coming to claim it now.
I agree. It was weird.
I don't know. I still feel like I'll read book 2 because I'm kind of like invested in the story now and I want to know what happens with Lucifer.
Cool. Like, you let me know.
That's what Sarah said the same thing.
Yep.
I'm kind of invested now too. Like, I'm like, it sucks being invested in a book that you just didn't care about to begin with, but I'm like, I need to know what happens.
Yeah.
Sarah and I will be reading about hockey.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Lori and I will read it. We'll report back and let you guys
let us know.
I mean, the book comes out in August anyway, so.
Yeah. It's soon at least, so like we don't have to like do a reread or anything before reading it.
I gotta say, throughout this whole book, I couldn't get Harry Potter out of my head. There were so many like similarities. So between the witches, they had the headmaster, which for some reason I kept envisioning like the young Dumbledore from like Fantastic Beasts.
And then like
yes, exactly. And then what's his name?
Ivan.
I kept picturing I kept picturing like a young Filch, and I'm like, ew. Because he reminded me of like some sort of like groundskeeper that was like, you know, just going around doing everybody's bidding. and so I'm just like, and then the fact that you have like the different houses, right? You got the green witches and the white ones and the red ones. So it's like, there's just so many that I'm just like, this is like a weird Harry Potter-ish type thing with Alaric /Grey/Thorne's character. I couldn't tell. I'm like, because I'm like, for a while I'm going back and forth. I'm like, okay, he says he's a demon, but he has vampire powers. So is he a vampire who's a demon? Like, what's going on here? I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Honestly, the whole vessel explanation was very confusing. It was like the only way to sustain them was by witch blood, but his demon soul /heart, which isn't Lucifer not a demon? Isn't Lucifer an angel?
Yeah, technically he's a fallen angel.
Right, but he's not a demon. So like I guess which way you look at it, but still, I don't know. Yeah.
I will say, you know, we complained about the fact that accidental attachment was like too long. And I feel like this book could have been longer if
Yeah.
it would just flesh out like a lot of the details.
Agreed. I think it was too short for the amount of plot that she
Yes.
had. Like, again, cool concept. It could have, it just was not executed well. It was like the first 75%, I don't even know what happened. It was barely explained. I couldn't tell how many students there were. I couldn't tell whether she knew she was going to the, I don't know. It was just so confusing. You barely learned about anybody. There was no angst between them. It was so bizarre. And then suddenly it was like a really cool story at the end. But
Yeah.
you're right. That should have been a 500-page book.
I think if it was longer and she was able to really like flesh it out a lot more so that we can actually follow what was going on,
Yeah.
I think it would have been better. And even just like the layout, like she's talking about the layout and I'm like, I don't even know what to envision. Like,
Yeah, I couldn't envision anything.
I couldn't envision anything.
There was no map.
There
We needed a map in fantasy books.
We like our maps.
Yes. Give us a map. If you're going to have a fantasy, I guess technically this is not a fantasy world because it's like on the outskirts of Salem. At least that was the way I was understanding it. But still, it's got witches and vampires. We need a map.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, it took place at a school, and did these kids ever fucking go to class?
Right. Like, what the fuck happened? Like, what were they learning? What were they doing?
I mean,
I don't know.
To be fair, we don't know what the other kids were doing, but the legacy kids or whatever they're called, they were always separated. So we don't know. For all we know, the other ones were probably going to class and we just didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure they probably were going to class and doing normal courting things.
Do we have any favorite quotes that we want to go through, or do we just want to skip to fuck, marry, kill?
I personally don't have any favorite quotes from this book. Like, I couldn't pick out a single one that was
I have one.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so if we're on our favorite quote, this you wouldn't even know is from a witch vampire book. Willow says, "Fuck, I hated running." And that was my favorite quote. I too hate running.
I agree. I did laugh at that in the book when she was running away from Susanna. I agree. That was a funny line. Relatable. But
relatable.
Definitely had nothing to do with witches and vampires.
No.
I tagged a stupid quote because it made no sense.
Okay, go on.
And it was her friend struck forward, sinking his fist into my gut and knocking the breath out of me. Then fight, bitch. You spelled witch wrong. And I'm just like, he didn't spell anything. like it would have made more sense if she's like, you said witch wrong or whatever, but not spell like that. Like that's kind of stupid.
So many things in this book. Like, while we're talking about it, because I know Nikki mentioned it, this is so similar to what you said. I know I texted you guys about this, where fucking Susanna and George had no eyeballs. They were bones. They repeatedly said how they only had eye sockets, and there was a part where she said, "I knew there was something wrong about you the moment I saw you," she said, her eyes dropping to the fresh puncture wounds on my neck. Bitch did not have eyes.
What were you looking with? What eyes?
Her eye sockets look to the.
What's crazy?
The
it's like
pits of dark hell are looking. You have no eyeballs. What?
Right. Well, what's crazy about it is the author made such a point to like describe the bones and how like she'd be walking and you could hear the click click clack and like when she was holding things about the bones. So it was like you made such a point of it in most of this book. So like, how did that make it through the cracks?
I think this was like the reverse accidental attachment. I think she had a good book and she sent this one by accident. And they were just like, well, I guess we're just gonna run with it because we're like, on a time limit. So we're gonna push it. Because whoever let this out, like I mentioned to you guys, she had no friends. Because if I was to write something like this, you guys would be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? What is this? This is toilet paper is what this is. Please don't do this to yourself.
See, I feel like my other issue with the book was that she over described things so much that it's like the story kind of got lost somewhere in there as well.
But I kind of feel like she didn't describe anything at all.
No. But that's the thing. Like, she wasn't describing as in like explaining what this was, or she wasn't explaining, she was describing. So exactly what Alyssa was saying, how it was always about the bones and the bones on the floor and the bones holding that. Like, it was just too much over describing certain things that to me made the story get lost somewhere in there, because now I'm just focusing on the description that I'm like, wait, what's going on? I've had to read several of these pages many times because I'm like, wait, who said what, where, what? Wait, who's talking? Who are they talking about?
I agree.
Like,
right.
it just wasn't.
It's true.
Speaking of over describing, did anybody else notice how many times the phrase nausea roiling in my gut was fucking used in this book?
Yes. She was always nauseous.
Always. And it was like the same way of describing it every time. Not nausea boiling in her gut, roiling in her gut. I'm like, girl, you need to go get some antacid.
And also, they harp on her eye color so much.
Right. Like,
and then it didn't have a meaning in the end. And you know it has to have some sort of meaning. Like, is it because she's of two descendant line? Like, but they just kept, I don't know. It was.
Yeah, I feel like she forgot to talk about that.
Maybe that'll be what the whole book 2 will be about.
Yeah. And even like talking so much about her dad, and then they just threw shit in at the end about her dad burying her alive and shit. I don't know. It was what?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, like with the dad, you know how she got strung up during the reaping and she started freaking out about being blindfolded. So I'm like, oh, there's got to be like a good story here, like why she doesn't like that. And then it was kind of just like an offhand mention about how he like put her into some coffin thing, I guess. I don't know. It was like not really explain what happened. I mean, it seemed like he got his just desserts. Is that the right terminology for that? Like he got it back.
Right.
Or like he was buried alive. So yeah. But it was confusing. Yeah. And same also, you know how many times Alaric mentioned having dominion over Willow and that was never described?
Yes. What is that?
He finally mentions, like, hinted at it sort of like on page 170 after talking about it for so long. But yeah, they didn't really go into detail about what it is. Because, I mean, just by the basic, like the definition, I'm like, okay, so he has control over her. But there's no, like, what does that mean for her? What does it mean, like, for all of this? Like, and he doesn't even explain, like, when, you know, he, like you said, like, she gave him his, like, her virginity. Okay, but what does that mean? And he said it several times. He's like, oh, she doesn't know what dominion over, you know, her means, but she'll soon find out. And I'm like, when? Because we still don't know, like, what that means.
And does it even mean anything now that he's Lucifer and not a vessel? Like, are we ever going to get the explanation of what that truly means?
And what does it mean to be his wife? Like,
Nikki, you having a hard time over there?
I am. This was. I don't think there's enough alcohol for me today for this. This one. I'm speechless.
Oh, and also, were they werewolves at the end?
Listen. Now they threw in fucking werewolves too. Like what?
Well, what did they call them? Like the damned or the cursed or
cursed?
Well, in his mind, he did say the werewolves. So like I would assume that that's like what they actually are. But I think he said
say that? I must have skipped over that part.
I know.
I'm like trying to find the scene where she ran away. Are you gonna fuck me, headmaster?
It was just a lot of sexy talk for there to be
for nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, from a really unlikable character too. It was just like
there was
so
nothing
dry.
appealing about him.
No,
even from the beginning, like from how they described him.
Yeah, he didn't
just like how he carried himself.
To be fair, none of them really did anything for me
at all.
Agreed.
Yeah, but they both had You know how, like, in a book, you get kind of like a feeling for the character? Like, there was no, they were both just very one dimensional. I couldn't
Yeah.
tell you anything substantial about Alaric or Willow. I finished the book and I was writing my review of it on Goodreads, and I was like, I don't remember anything about
Yeah.
Willow. She was just such an unmemorable character. Like, there was, I couldn't even be like, oh, she was a badass. No, like, there was just nothing redeeming about her, or again, memorable.
Yeah.
Oh, and they also don't explain why the males have to give up their magic if they choose to have a family.
I know.
Yeah.
What is that?
Makes literally no sense. Like, you can have your magic or you can have babies. And then Susanna tells her in the end something like, I did all of that and the choice for you. But what? What do the two have to do with each other?
Mm-mm.
I like, it makes no sense. There was just
Mm-mm.
Nikki, you look ready to throw something. But yes, he does say on chapter 35, after he saved her, he said the last werewolf had a knife in its
okay.
chest. So they were
Oh.
werewolves.
So how come you
Yeah.
didn't tell her they're werewolves and instead was like they're cursed? They're the damned. They're the cursed, whatever they were.
Did he ever actually give her facts about anything?
I
No.
mean, but how come she didn't know either? Like, who doesn't know what a werewolf is? She didn't know what they were.
Willow.
I know. When she described them, they were like weird. I don't know.
Yeah, she's like, they have the head of a wolf and they're tall and lanky, long legs. And I'm like, it's a fucking werewolf.
I know. I don't.
Yeah.
Weird. All right, we ready for fuck, marry, kill then?
Yep.
Kill
Can
them
we
all.
just kill all of them?
Kill them
Okay,
all.
well,
Burn them at the stake, stab them in the heart, cut a head off, throw them in the pits of hell, burn them alive. I don't care. Kill them all.
oh, well, Ivan was one of them, and I was gonna say he wanted to be a husband so bad.
No,
Yeah.
Ivan too. Kill them
Me-
too. All of them.
Nah,
They gotta go.
Ivan is going to be a Mary for me.
Okay,
Me
he'll be a
too.
Mary.
And then kill the other two, because I had told Melissa, I'm like, I don't want to fuck a virgin, and I don't want to fuck a Lucifer, so hard pass on both of them.
Okay. Well, I was going to say kill Willow and fuck Gray.
Well, there you go.
I don't know, man. I've read a lot of like Lucifer / Hades books, and I'm like, I could be down for that, but not
Well,
him specifically.
Yeah, I'm like, we don't know how this Lucifer is.
Have you ever watched the show Lucifer?
I've seen
'Cause-
bits and pieces.
He can turn me over backwards any day of the week.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Without question.
Well, it's like the
Agreed.
way they described his body was like, you know, in Voldemort, like you were saying, the Harry Potter stuff. You remind me of, remember the Voldemort?
Yeah,
It was like,
that whole scene where they were like doing the whole like taking a lung here. It reminded me of Voldemort, you know, like
Yeah.
the father and like
When like Wormtail was putting everything in the cauldron in the graveyard. Yeah.
I cannot stress how much I kept picturing Harry Potter with this book.
this was like Harry Potter fanfic, like,
Yeah.
Wattpad shit. Yeah.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's like an insult to
It-
Harry Potter.
I know.
It is, but it's just like that. I think that's the only way I got through it.
So I'm killing everyone. That's me.
And
They're
that's
all
your
dying.
Yeah, fair enough.
right.
Do we want to even go into the other questions, or are we just gonna leave it at
Yeah, I don't. Is there like a point?
no?
Well, let's see. There's no diverse,
Nope.
cast
Yeah.
of characters.
Can't stand the characters
Not lovable.
at
Not
all.
lovable.
All the
No
questions
plot.
are just gonna be like, no,
Nope,
no,
nope,
no,
nope.
Yeah.
no, no.
Oh yeah.
There's
All
there's
right,
no
well.
character development. But
Listen,
on that
we're
note,
not
there's
trying to
no
be
way of
hard
putting-
asses.
I know.
We really aren't. We're not trying to be hard asses, and I'm pretty sure that the author worked her ass off. I hope writing this book, but it just didn't come across like when we were told the book that we were going to read. I was actually excited. I was like, okay, witches and all that fun stuff and vampires, and then I start reading it, and I'm just like, what is
I know.
this?
And it has over a 4-point-something rating on Goodreads.
Yeah, I don't
and
get it.
People were like, oh, if you love like this book boyfriend, you're gonna love Gray. And I was like, huh?
Don't you dare.
So I
think
mean,
there-
there's people who love it.
They might be all friends.
They
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Well, if you look at the like 1 to 2 star ratings on it, it's very similar to what our
You're
thoughts
saying?
are on it. So like, I don't know
Yeah.
if maybe the good reviews are like arcs that were received and they felt bad. Like, giving a bad review, or possibly they've read her other books and like, I get it. It's hard. I don't like giving bad reviews of books,
At
so I
all.
can understand
Right.
that. I will say, like, I saw on the reviews a lot of them, because she has another really popular series. It's called What Lies Beyond the Veil, I think.
Okay.
What Lies? I don't know. I've heard that book is really good, and it's high up on my TBR to read. And a lot of the 1 to 2 star reviews were saying that it seemed like a totally different author. This book seemed like a totally different author from that other, like, really popular series that she writes. So I am still intrigued to read the other series, because I know it's like a fae fantasy type one.
Mhm.
But we'll
So
see how
it's
long.
similar to accidental attachment then, where it felt like it was different authors than their
Yes.
normal series. Okay. I
Yeah,
can
well,
watch.
that's what the review said. I don't know. Again,
Yeah,
like, I
of
know everybody's tastes are different, and I
course.
understand that, you know, even theirs could be different than ours, even though we felt the same as far as the star rating.
Mhm.
I'll read it eventually. I'll let you guys know.
Okay. Alyssa and Lori will let us know.
Next week we are reviewing The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I am super excited about that book, because I've seen, very similar to Fourth Wing, where, like, everybody raves about this book. I know it is the way I've seen it described is vampires in Hunger Games.
Okay.
That sounds
So
interesting.
yeah, it sounds interesting. I've read, like, the prologue and chapter 1, and I am intrigued by it. I'm liking it so far. So I think this will be a better read for us.
Yes. Help us get over our Fourth Wing hangover that we still have.
Yes. I have seen that this book is
Mhm.
recommended as something to read if you are in a book hangover. So we will report back next week and let you know if that is true. All right. So buckle up, bookworms. We'll see you next week.
Bye.